Welcome to Death Becomes Her, the minicast where we spend 5 to 10 minutes discussing death, dying, and grief from a variety of angles. I'm your host, LiElla Kelly. Eventually, all things merge into one, and a river runs through it. The river was cut by the world's great flood and runs over rocks from the basement of time. On some of the rocks are timeless raindrops. Under the rocks are the words, and some of the words are theirs. Those are the final lines of Norman Maclean's novel, A River Runs Through It. I live in Montana, a place where we hike, farm, bike, ranch, boat, fish, and camp. Like Norman Maclean wrote, we play a role in our ecosystem. We are part of our environment, and our environment is part of us. My great-grandfather homesteaded in the breaks of the Missouri River. When he died, he was buried on the land he homesteaded. He is part of Montana, and Montana is part of him. A growing number are choosing an eco-friendly return-to-nature approach to death. They are stepping away from embalming chemicals and concrete burial vaults in favor of more environmentally friendly and cost-effective options. They are choosing what we might imagine as a cowboy burial. We've all heard it said, just put me in a hole in the ground and call it good. Well, that's basically what we're talking about. Green burial or natural burial is a simple process. There's no embalming, no concrete vaults, no lacquered or steel caskets. Rather, a body can be buried in an untreated wood or natural fiber casket, or even just wrapped in a cotton or linen shroud. No casket required. Natural burial takes us back to our roots, a time when it was customary for us to become part of the earth once we died. Natural burial options are becoming easier to find. Green cemeteries or hybrid cemeteries, which is a cemetery defined as a conventional cemetery that offers the essential aspects of natural burial either throughout the whole cemetery or just in a designated section. They can be found in nearly every U.S. state, including Montana. Swan Lake is a lush, green region of Montana surrounded by mountains, lakes, and wilderness areas. Nestled in the forest, you can visit and reserve a plot at Natural Cemeteries, a nonprofit green burial cemetery founded by Henry and Joan Myers. The Myers purchased 120 acres in 1951. They have lived on and worked the land ever since. Now in their 90s, the couple has plans to stay forever, along with their new neighbors, those who have also chosen to be buried amongst the Myers fir trees and bear grass. Henry says that when the time comes, he and Joan will be buried in a spot overlooking their cabin. They'll be buried in caskets that he built himself. The caskets currently have been purposed as bookcases. Ever practical, he says it's a waste to only use them for dying. We visited Natural Cemeteries on a gray, rainy day. Henry, our surprisingly spry guide, led us around to his favorite parts of the property. He pointed out burial sites that at first glance were camouflaged by the lush surroundings. As you began to pay closer attention, you could see an occasional rock that had been engraved with a poem or some biographical information, or sometimes there was a small aluminum stake that serves as the official marker for burial plots. Even these monuments blend into the surroundings as they're not your typical headstone. In other spots, trees have been planted as grave markers. Elk regularly roam the area, leaving their own mark here and there. It's beautiful, peaceful, and so very green. A gorgeous little piece of Montana where people are choosing to be buried in a way that harmonizes with the land while preserving fish and wildlife habitat and corridors. Not only is green burial environmentally friendly and affordable, it allows us to have a more active share in fulfilling our loved ones' final wishes. Most of us are familiar with the traditional American style of death care, a tradition where we hand off our loved ones to funeral professionals and take on a role of observation. In contrast, At green burial services, family and friends are often encouraged to join in and help with meaningful tasks like decorating a shrouded body or casket with flowers or helping to fill the grave by hand. Many are finding that these actions provide an emotional satisfaction that traditional funerals do not. One young widow who shared in filling her husband's grave noted, "I was able to keep it together and not break down into tears until that part. I think it helped with closure in a way that I didn't anticipate." Green burial isn't for everyone, but it is an option that speaks to many who have loved and enjoyed the beauty and peace that the outdoors offer. If green burial appeals to you, you can learn more by visiting www.greenburialcouncil.org and by exploring your own end-of-life plans. Thank you for listening to the Death Becomes Her minicast. Connect with me, LiElla Kelly, at www.leavingwellmt.com. Special thanks to Roman Belov for our intro and outro music. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, talking about death won't kill you. I promise.